everybody, welcome to Will and Drew's Gaming Retrospective. This is episode 68 for the week of March 15th, 2020. I am your host, Will, and I am joined by Drew. What's up, Drew?
Hey, buddy. What's going on?
Oh, man, just trying to stay away from the COVID, I guess.
Yeah, we should call this Guide to COVID Infection 2020. I don't fucking... I just woke up.
Ah, dude, I am so sick of hearing about it. Like, I know it's like a big deal, but my God, it's just everywhere.
You know what is really getting me the most of this whole situation? I get email after email after email about companies, or from companies that I don't give a shit about, telling me about how they're protecting us and their employees from COVID. I'm sorry, I just got a notice to restart my computer.
Oh.
We're going to shut that off. Doing it live, everybody. Yeah, like I just
Fuck
like
it, let's do it live.
I just got like this flood of emails within the past like 72 hours about, hey, just a note about how we're handling the COVID-19 crisis or how we're protecting you from coronavirus. Like I got a fucking email from Nardelli's about it. And for those that don't live in Connecticut, Nardelli's is it's a sub shop. You know, they make, hoagies, grinders, subs, whatever the fuck you want to call them, sandwiches. They make sandwiches. And they're great. They make great sandwiches. And they're trying to tell me how, and it's all the same shit. Everybody is copying and pasting the same fucking email about how, we're washing our hands and taking extra sanitary precautions and enforcing the use of employees staying home if they're sick and, sick leave. And we're not coughing on the food today. And we're going to make sure that Johnny, who's got boogers dripping out of his nose, wipes his nose and then washes his hands 4 times and then spins around in a circle. Like, fucking don't tell me this shit. Just do it.
Yeah, I know. It's a crazy time right now, man. I think a lot of businesses are looking at business continuity plans and how they're protecting, like you said, how they're protecting their employees. And there's just so much chatter in every different direction in terms of what people are buying, what to do, how to protect yourself. It's pretty overwhelming. I think that it's important to make sure that we take it in doses and, not just stare at a screen and read all about it all day, because you'll just give yourself a panic attack.
Oh man, it's ridiculous. I actually find myself getting like disgusted reading about it more than anything because, excuse me, we get like most of our information through some form of social media these days, right? Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Reddit, whatever it is. And like, I detest Facebook, but I still have it. And when I'm bored, I'll fire it up on my phone. Well, that's every time I do that, it's a fucking mistake because all I'm seeing on my Facebook feed are photos from the grocery store with empty shelves from people that have taken them themselves and people who have taken them from other people. I'm seeing memes about the coronavirus. I'm seeing news about the coronavirus. I'm seeing jokes about the coronavirus. I'm seeing uneducated statements about the coronavirus. And then, like, I remember going through my feed this morning, coronavirus. Oh, my friend's daughter graduated from high school. Coronavirus. And like on a normal day, that graduation thing wouldn't have made like much difference. But like today it like stood out.
Yeah. It's pretty unbelievable, man. I think the way that you just described it is exactly what's happening. You can't look at anything without coronavirus being connected to just that.
And the thing is like I've been looking at like statistics from, CDC and stuff, and this virus is following a very predictable pattern. It's following the same pattern it did in other countries. The rate of expansion or infection is almost identical to where it was in other countries. And quite frankly, it's going to pass in like 2 weeks, Like I'm not saying it's not something that's serious and not something that we should be worried about, but generally speaking, most of the people that are listening to our show, if they're infected with it, don't have anything to worry about it. You're going to be sick. You're going to use a sick day at work. You're not going to go into work, and then you're going to be better. Don't go around your parents if your parents are still around. Don't go around elderly people if that, unless you absolutely have to. Don't go around anybody that has a compromised immune system. Use fucking common sense.
Yeah, that's really what this boils down to.
I didn't think I'd be this angry this early.
Well, before we dive into the show, thank you so much for downloading the show, everyone. Be sure to subscribe to us on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher Radio, TuneIn Radio, or using your favorite podcast app. Also, you can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at WDGR Podcast. Will, if someone wants to follow me, I knew it was going to happen.
Will is reading off of a script that I use for reference.
If you can't tell, I am not this fluent. If people want to follow me, you can follow me at Will_Gear on Twitter. Drew, how can they follow you? Trying to stay composed here. Don't ruin it.
Oh, God. You can follow me at Storm on all of your social media favorites.
And don't forget to check us out on Discord and swing on by our website at WDGRpodcast.com. Links for everything are going to be in the show notes. So, Drew, let's start out every week with the same question. What are you playing?
Oh, man. Not a ton of stuff, but I've fallen back into Ori and the Blind Forest.
Okay.
I'm not sure what it was that made me decide to get back into it. Ori and the Will of the Wisps came out this week or last week. I'm not entirely sure which, but I decided to pick that up again a couple nights ago, and man, I had a moment with that game where it was kind of rage-inducing, controller throwing kind of thing. It took me a little while to kind of figure out like my controls in that game again, because it's been a little bit since I played it, but I picked it up fairly quickly. And there's a mechanic where you can basically piggyback off of like enemy fire to launch yourself into areas that you couldn't normally reach. So like if an enemy shoots at you, if you time it right, you can like basically it's almost like a parry. But you're not parrying it, you're just jumping through it. But the timing is kind of similar to that. That makes sense? So this bullet is coming at you, or this energy shot or whatever is coming at you. And whether you're in the air or you're on the ground, you press and you hold Y just as the thing is about to hit you. And the game freezes, and it gives you a directional arrow. And where that direction arrow is pointing, your character will go, and the enemy fire will go in the opposite direction. And this is kind of useful for a couple ways. You can use it to redirect enemy fire back at enemies. You can use it to redirect enemy fire towards objects that you can't get around, like a door that is unopenable. You can shoot that door, and the door will, blow up, and that opens up a new path for you. But in the section that I just got through, basically you're you're climbing up this gigantic tree, and you're trying to escape this tree as a flood comes in. So you have rising water, and you have a series of enemies that are shooting at you that you have to use this ability to kind of shoot yourself up into higher and higher in the tree. It basically is your best means of traversing. And then there's a few like light bulbs, essentially, like these light orbs that kind of function in the same way, except they're just static; they don't move. Okay. So you between these and enemy fire, this becomes a really challenging race against time, and you're platforming and jumping and trying to get to the top of the tree as quickly as possible. The thing is, with this section, as far as I can tell, it doesn't matter how fast or how good you are. The water is always going to be at the same point at certain points. It's one of those types of things where, like, once you get to this part of it, the water's already going to be there. Like, you don't really have a means of dodging that. And you have limited time to get up to the next spot before the water overtakes you and you die. Once the water touches you, you're done. Like, you can't move. So it's super challenging, and like I got to this point a couple nights ago, and it was kind of late. I was tired. I'm like, you know what? This is really difficult. I'm going to put the controller down. I'm not going to play it. I'll get back to it again later. And then last night when I got home from work, I was still kind of wired, so I'm like, yeah, let me play Ori for a little while. So I fire it up, and like I was getting like gamer rage, like fuck this game. I'm going to throw the controller. This is the hardest shit ever. This is cheap. Just really getting frustrated. And then I finally completed it. And I felt so when you finish a section of the game, your character shoots through the top of the Ginso tree and then lands on like the side where there's like flat ground, right? Mm-hmm. And then all this water like shoots up into the air and crashes down, but it's not enough to like produce a flood. It's like the tip of a geyser kind of just crashing and spreading all over.
Oh.
And Ori is like just out, like just laying on the ground, exhausted. And I felt the exact same fucking way. Like I just sat on the sofa, I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, they must have done that for a reason.
Oh, it was very much intentional. Yeah. What a fantastic game though, man. Like I am like super motivated to try to finish it. I don't know how much I have left to go. It's a lot, I'm sure. But it's a beautiful game. The music in that game is so beautiful. I can't even begin to tell you. We talk about, music quite a bit on this podcast, and I cannot recommend that soundtrack enough. Even though you've never played the game, I'm going to send you a link to the soundtrack on YouTube before we're done. It is just beautiful. I think the composer's name is Gareth Coker. Okay. I hope he did the new game. I haven't looked into it. But there are just some tracks, and we've shared some of them before. I think I shared one of them as a Music Monday way back. They're just, oh man, I can't even explain it. It fits the game perfectly. Okay. That's the best way I could put it. It's very orchestral and cinematic, but yet in a way that's like, it makes great gaming music because it's in the background, but it's not like overwhelming, Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did play a small portion of the first game on PC like forever ago, and I liked what I played. Definitely spoke about it, I want to say once or twice, but probably forever ago on the show, but it's still there. It's on Steam. I just don't ever switch to Windows, like really ever anymore, because I just don't do any PC gaming, but yeah. I'd love to get to it someday.
I would highly recommend it. It's just a fantastic game, and I think if you especially if you like Metroidvania style games, but even if you don't, the game does a great job of pulling at your heartstrings. It really makes you feel for the world that you're in and the characters that are dealing with loss and the destruction of their environment, and it's fantastic. I don't know where it's going to go. I really have no idea like what the story really entails and how it's going to tie into the sequel. But the sequel's on Game Pass, and I really want to play it, and I feel like I have to finish this first.
Seems like the right thing to do. It also kind of reminds me of Avatar a little bit, like in terms of that sort of environmental destruction and loss, and even the intro I know received a lot of feedback on YouTube about how sad just the intro was. Oh,
it was heartbreaking. Yeah. It was heartbreaking. I never felt so emotional over characters I had just met. Like it kind of reminds me of like that opening scene for Up.
Oh, it's been a long time since I've seen that.
But like you can remember the emotions that brought you, right?
Yes, I can.
It's kind of the same thing. It's like, oh wow, I didn't expect that to happen in 5 minutes or less. So, how about you, man? What have you been playing?
Not a whole lot. I've been struggling a little bit getting to some games, especially Gravity Rush 2. What did I play recently, though? I thought... Oh, yeah. It hasn't really changed since Tetris Effect. I mean, I know that we just recorded this past Monday, and it's now Saturday, so it hasn't been that much time. And I've been busy with work and the coronavirus scare and everything, so it's just been hard to kind of get to it. But I have plans for this weekend. I actually did pick up God of War finally, because this dude, Zach, that sits behind me, I don't think he's listening to the show yet, so don't have to worry. But he's been peer pressuring me like you wouldn't believe to get this game. And I kept telling him, I was like, dude, I can't, man. My backlog, like I'm not spending any money right now. Like it's just, I got to work on getting these games like done or just making a good dent first.
Yeah.
And I realized that I had that $7 something credit still. And I was like, well, maybe I can swing this because, I got rid of a lot of stuff recently on Mercari, and I was just able to kind of justify it because I was like, well, the game's $19.99. I have like the $7. So it's like almost paying for half of it. So I was like, fuck it. I'm just going to get it and I'm going to play it this weekend. If I hate it, like I'm going to scream at this kid. But I don't think I will. I've done a lot of research on it. I've asked around in Discord. I've talked to Joe. I've talked to other friends outside of Discord, and everybody says that it's like a masterpiece of a game. So I want to give it a whirl. I want to see what the hype's about.
I'm kind of envious because that's a game that I bought, 2 Black Fridays ago, and it's been sitting on my shelf, and I've been wanting to play it for the longest time. And I feel like for me now is not the right time for that game.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty story driven, and as far as I know, it's not exactly super short, but it's not super long.
I think it's about 30 hours or so.
Yeah.
But it's definitely the kind of game that I would love to do like a collective playthrough with you. But
yeah,
I don't know. Maybe we should talk about that. Maybe I'll shelve something else and we can kind of double team that game.
Potentially. I mean, I will play this weekend because I promised Zach and I promised myself I would, try this game out so we could talk about it on Monday. But yeah, it's I don't know. I'm excited for it. I mean, it looks really good. I did comment to him that I'm not a huge fan of like how it seems like you only really have this axe and shield, whereas in the other God of War games you had more of your just more of like a move set and more of like those chained like weapon things, and it was a little bit more like whippy, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You were able to kind of whip those things around, and it just seemed a little bit more entertaining. But then I kind of backed it up with, well, you know what, man, like to be fair, I really don't know enough about the game to like really comment on that. It's just what I've seen seems to be primarily axe work.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge God of War expert. I've only dabbled in the games before. I know exactly what you're talking about as far as like the chains and stuff. I believe at some point you do get other weapons in this God of War. Like, I'm pretty sure that, you're not just stuck with an axe the whole time. But I'm not 100% positive on that.
Yeah, I just don't know. But graphically, it looks amazing. The soundtrack seems really good. I heard nothing but good things about the story. It's very much like a father and son kind of situation.
Yeah.
And the bond between them seems to be pretty powerful. So
yeah,
I think it'll be nice, with the C virus and everybody kind of hunkering down. This might be my chance to, finally hunker down myself and get into something. So we'll see.
Sounds like it. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing what you think.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
It's a pretty iconic game from PlayStation 4 library,
Yeah, very iconic. I was surprised that it was still $20, but at the same time I wasn't, because clearly it's holding its value. People I think are still talking about it and playing it, and then there's talks about the next one already. So my guess is the price will go up, or it's going to sit at $20 for a while.
I think $20 is going to be the standard for this game. It has been on sale so many times for so long that it's just it's a greatest hit price at this point. And in fact, if I'm not mistaken, I think it is a greatest hits title if they're still doing those. So you're going to see it for $20 with occasional sales for 15 to 10. That's just, I think, the normal at this point. So, which is fine. I think it's awesome that a fantastic game like that has a low barrier to entry. That's one of the things that's always frustrated me about Nintendo is, their games, their AAA titles from Nintendo's development team almost never go on sale. Our buddy Vic posted a couple days ago, for Mario Day 310, March 10th rather, that some of the Mario games were on sale, and I looked at the prices and they were on sale, but wasn't that great? You know?
Yeah.
Like,
no, that's exactly it.
But for them, for Mario games, like, that was a big deal. Like, I think my wife bought me Breath of the Wild for like $40. Like, when I buy a game on sale, I expect it to be $30 or less.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and those games just don't drop in price. So nothing wrong with $20. And you'll get $20 worth of fun out of it too.
Yeah, no, I think so. I mean, a lot of people would say that game is still worth $60.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I'm going to try and get into this weekend. Should have no problem doing that because I really don't think I'm leaving the house unless it's for batteries.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's check the notes here. Do you want to dive into the mailbag real quick?
Let's do it.
Okay. Let's see what we got here. So let's start with Bearman. Bearman asks, aside from the new Doom, are there any new games that you guys are looking forward to playing or talking about playing but not actually doing it? Aha. You clever man. You cheeky man.
Cheeky bastard, you.
Yeah. God of War. God of War and backlog games. That's kind of my answer. Short but sweet. Not really much else to say there. I mean, what do you think, Drew?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still kind of going back and forth between whether or not I want to buy Final Fantasy VII Remake. I listened to a podcast last night. Shout out to Stone Age Gamer. And the two hosts were on opposite ends of the spectrum. One of them kind of echoed a lot of my complaints. The other one, like, absolutely adored the game and everything about it and recognized for what they were trying to do with it rather than what it was. You know, hey, this is the story of Final Fantasy VII told in a hack and slash new type game. And, you know, but he's also the type of person that loved, games like God of War and other games of that genre. So I'm trying to kind of consider that and keep that in mind. I'm tempted to play the demo one more time on Classic the way it's meant to be played, which obviously I didn't do last time. I guess the best way to play the Classic mode is to literally just wait and let your character do the attacks on their own and just issue the commands for the abilities. That is not something I did. I was like, I'm pressing these buttons and things are happening. It doesn't feel any different. So I might try it one more time to see if that's the style of gameplay that fits my needs best. But to kind of circle back to, games going on sale, I just don't think I'm going to buy this on day one. I don't see any reason for me to need this game. That demo, I mean, the music is incredible. The graphics are incredible. The environment is incredible, but the gameplay just did not do me any favors, I guess. Man. I don't know what I was expecting, but it wasn't that.
Yeah, no, I'm the same, man. And to be fair, I still have to play the rest of the demo and finish it, which I intend on doing this weekend as well. Ended up getting around to it that night, but I need to get a better handle on the two different modes of combat and just a better handle on what this demo is all about. I can agree with you. I think what we said last time still stands. The environment looks amazing. The graphics look amazing. The music is outstanding. That's all well and fine. But it's kind of like a job, right? Like you can have all the perks, but if the job itself sucks, like it can kind of outweigh the perks. So
right.
That's where we have to be careful with this. And I agree. I don't know if I'm going to get this day one, dude. Unless I've made like unless I'm bulldozering that backlog, I just don't, I don't know if it's a good idea.
I was going to say something. Oh, as far as the battle modes go, allegedly you can change whether you're on regular mode or classic mode without having to like start a new game. So that might be a good way for you to kind of dabble with them both. Okay. Rather than playing a second playthrough, just flip the switch and, grind out an area a little bit.
Sure.
But I recommend, I do recommend finishing it. It's short. Like, honestly, you could sit down and hammer it out in less than an hour. If you take the time to really read everything and explore everything, maybe an hour and a half tops. There's just not a lot of content there, which is fine. It's a teaser, it's a demo, it's not the full game, and I get that. But they give you a boss battle. The strategies for that battle just weren't what I was expecting. And it went like way too long, in my opinion. But yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway.
actually, I also want to comment that I have been going back and listening to some of the older Final Fantasy soundtracks, like on the way to work.
Oh,
and
man.
it's been a real pleasure, man. A lot of them I've never heard before ever, so I went back and I started listening to FF8, Final Fantasy 9, 12, and just kind of going back and playing around with the soundtracks. I don't know why. Well, I do know why. It's just because the remake demo is out, and it's obviously channeling some of those feelings about music and music in those games, and they've always been very good. So
those soundtracks are so good, though, and like I could do in a music episode on Final Fantasy music alone.
Oh yeah. I mean,
easily.
It's just so joyous. It's just so uplifting most of the time, and it just all sounds so good, and it's very catchy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't think I would use the term uplifting, but there are songs that are, but then there are songs that aren't. I think those games absolutely are written to what the story is. They're written to what's being told.
That's true. That's true.
And they do a great job of, conveying those emotions for whatever the situation is.
Yeah, and it's cool because you can actually easily separate, what is a battle system music, what is, like story mode where you're like dialogue heavy scenes. Like it's very cut out for exactly what's going on, like you mentioned. And I think they do a really good job with that.
I haven't listened to the soundtrack for FF9 in a while. I think
it's pretty decent.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that game when I played it. It was at the time one of my favorite Final Fantasy games, and I remember almost absolutely nothing about it now. But I do remember like being really impressed with it, and I think I may have enjoyed it more than Final Fantasy 7. 8 was the one I just never got into. I really was hoping to find some time to play it this year. Not sure that that's going to happen, but
yeah,
story of my life.
I will say that call me a stickler for things that just are tried and true, but playing that demo just made me want to go back and play the original PS1 version of FF7 and experience that perfect what do you call it, turn-based combat. And they just got it right in that game, and like there are plenty of annoyances in the original. Like I hate how you can't skip the automatic battles, but I do know with the with that sort of like, it's not a remaster, it's more of like a polished touch up on the original, you could definitely skip it in that version. Yeah,
there's ways to reduce or avoid completely random battles.
Yeah. And I think they're great for obviously grinding purposes, but sometimes that was the one thing that bothered me the most about that game, is it just seemed like I couldn't just traverse across a goddamn pipe without getting into another battle again.
Why are there so many enemies on this pipe?
Yeah, and you would just hear the and it was cool, but sometimes you'd be like, God damn it, dude.
Yeah. Well, I think that's where turning that thing off and on is the way to go.
Yeah, if you want to grind, turn it on. You don't want to grind, you want to enjoy the story and just make some progress, turn it off.
Totally.
So I think at some point I probably will get that version, because I do really enjoy what I have played of the original game. And even though I haven't beat it, I made some pretty good progress over the years.
Yeah, I mean, I hesitate to tell you to start over, but I do feel like that game is best experienced, straight through.
Oh, yeah, I would have to start over. I have I think I mentioned this before, I have such a weird history with that game where I've started it over I don't know how many fucking times.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time that I had to start it over, it's because like I lost like a memory file or something like that.
Oh, no.
And I was really upset about it because I had started it back in Milford, so this must have been, I don't know, like 2004 ago. Or some shit.
Yeah.
And I made some really good progress. I think I unlocked like Sid and some of those like later on characters.
Yep.
And I had like that little buggy that you can use to traverse like the actual world. And I remember being so like crushed when I found out that file was like deleted or something. So I started over again when I was in New York in 2009, and I think I like traded in that PS2 or whatever it was that I was playing it on. And Yeah, one thing led to another, and I just kept, like, it was a mixture of, like, files getting deleted and trading in systems and shit that just, like, made me start over so many times. So, but I wouldn't mind. I really do adore that game. It's very time consuming, but I really like it a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, you're going to drop 80 hours on it if you play it from beginning to end. That's just a rough guess.
Easy.
But I think it's worth it. You know, I think there are some games that are just so iconic. You know, that as a fan of video games, you kind of have to play them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think that Final Fantasy VII kind of falls in that category. Whether or not you like the game, that's another, you know, discussion altogether. But, you know, it's just one of those pivotal moments in gaming history that I think everybody should play, if possible, to completion.
Yeah, and honestly, it holds up well. I remember playing it on a 37-inch LCD screen, original PS1 disc, and it filled up the screen, and it did not look bad at all.
Yeah, and the story has held up, you know, pretty well too for the most part. You know, it's very iconic, especially considering today's climate. You know, so I think it's worth checking out on multiple levels.
Absolutely.
But I could do a whole episode on that game.
Oh yeah, easily. We probably will someday. Maybe like come release of like episode 1 or whatever of the remake.
Sure.
Maybe we can dive in and do like little segments. So you picked up something kind of special recently, the Command and Conquer remaster, huh?
You're missing Joe's question.
Oh, whoops! Totally forgot about that.
Yeah, I don't want Joe yelling at me.
Yeah, no, I forgot we only had 2 here.
Joe, yell at Will.
Yeah,
actually, Joe left more than one question, so.
Fair enough. All right, so let's dive in. Things always get a little weird in the time between old and new consoles, but between the issues in the real world, the nasty stories of crunch culture coming out of Kotaku's Jason Schreier, and the latest lull in games being kind of wonderful, I start to worry how sustainable this industry is. It just seems like people need to work harder and faster to get games out, but there are less people hungry to play them. Is the game industry going to run into a supply versus demand issue, or am I just projecting my own mood and game habits on the rest of the world? Oh boy.
Well, you know, it's easier than ever for a small development team to get their games into the hands of players, and easier than ever for players to find those games. You know, so you have a lot of cases where, you know, 5 people or less build an indie game. They throw it up on Steam for $15. They sell it for, you know, on sale for 10 or less. They get a huge influx of buys off of that. Maybe enough money to port it over to the Switch or to the Xbox or whatever. And, you know, I think it's kind of flooding the market in a way. You know, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Like, I think it's amazing that we have so many indie developers that are out there making games. But if you think about the quantity of games that come out today versus the quantity of games that came out even just 10 years ago, it's staggering. You know, every day there's a new game released, and it's really difficult now for players to kind of wade through it all. Unless you're in a community that hyper focuses on a certain genre that you like, you're going to miss games that are coming out. So there is way too much supply and certainly not enough demand in those terms. You know, I could load up Steam right now and add 10 games to my wish list and not even blink an eye. You know, I'm going to find stuff. And I haven't, you know, full disclosure, I haven't played a PC game in months. You know, doesn't mean the urge isn't. Epic Store, for example, they just came out with their batch of free games for the month, and oh fuck, what the hell was the name of it? A Short Hike.
Yes,
is one of the games on that. That is a game that a couple people in our Discord room have talked about before. I believe Joe and Pucks have both played it. I might be mixing up my people. And then Off-World Trading Company came out on there recently too. I think this week as well. And that's a strategy game made by a publisher that I adore, Stardock, which I didn't even realize Stardock had their hands in it. But they produce like really high quality computer strategy games. Sins of a Solar Empire is a Stardock game. Galactic Civilizations is a Stardock game. You know, Stardock developed Galactic Civ as well too. They didn't just publish it, but they have their niche. Stardock has their niche in the PC market, and most of the time their games are at least a 7 out of 10. So you know you're going to get a level of quality with them. So now I'm looking at that. I'm like, fuck, when the hell am I going to have time to play this now? I didn't realize that was, you know, made by, you know, who it was. So, I'm just thrown off. And the whole thing is there's so many games, there's so little time, and especially as adults, you know, Joe and I were having a conversation in the Discord a couple days ago, and he's, you know, pulling extra shifts. And I'm like, dude, I know how you feel. You know, like,
yep,
you're working, you know, 50-hour weeks and still trying to have the same gaming lifestyle, and something's got to give. And it's probably not going to be your paycheck. So now is the gaming industry just producing too much content for you? And I don't mean him specifically, but, you know,
yeah,
kind of generally speaking.
Yeah, I think my answer is pretty simple and short here. I think that I'm comfortable now saying that there are probably too many games being pushed out, and it seems pretty clear because there's a lot of us that are not diving through and jumping around and juggling, you know, 8 games at once. I think we are all trying to hunker down with 1 or 2 at most, and we're having a really hard time catching up. And it's because of everybody's life is just generally busier now. Even like younger gamers, you know, they're generally just a little bit more busy. The world has changed, and the demand seems to be quite high in the gaming industry to continue to push things out. And I don't think it needs to be. You know, I still read from time to time Twitter threads about how certain devs are being worked to the bone. And it's really kind of disturbing, and it makes me feel a little bit concerned and almost guilty for playing a game like kind of casually in like, you know, sweatpants and a fucking sweater or whatever, while I know that like some guy like slaved over this game to fucking get it out to us. And I'm bitching about how like difficult it is or how I can't finish it or whatever. And it just, I don't know, like I get like strangely guilty and concerned about the whole aspect of it. And I think that if games were released a little bit slower or like a slower format, then I think we would, as gamers, have an easier time completing games, getting caught up, and maybe devs would have a little less weight on their shoulders as well.
Yeah. I mean, when you're looking at games that are like AAA titles and they have these, you know, large development teams and publishers that are breathing down their neck to get results by, you know, quarter 4,
Q4.
You know, yeah, like I think that's an issue. And, you know, those types of things have always existed, and they're probably not going to go away anytime soon. Maybe, you know, these companies will get some lip service like BioWare, you know, oh yeah, we're going to be more focused about you, the player, and that'll be nice for a couple years, and then the same habits will happen again. You know, they're going to be cracking the whip, trying to get these results. There's going to be too many people with too many hands in the pot, making too many changes to games and ultimately ruining them like they did with Anthem. So as much as you want to support a developer because you like them, or you like the statement that they're making, at some point you have to respect yourself and your wallet, and you have to be willing to say no.
Yep.
There's, like I said before, there's just not enough time. There's not enough money. I mean, like, you know, even somebody who's a multi-billionaire, like, you can't buy every game, and even if you did, you can't play every game. Like, it's just not possible. There's just, like, if you played games 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, it is impossible to play every single game out there.
Oh yeah, there's just so goddamn many. I mean,
there's
especially
so many.
if you're counting like every system ever and every game ever, like it's insane. It's absolutely insane.
So I believe that what we as players need to do is just buy the games that we think we're going to enjoy, and enjoy them or not enjoy them. We have no control over the industry directly. If you don't believe in a studio's practices, don't support them. Your wallet is your biggest vote. If people stop buying these games, like I'm guilty of pre-ordering games, but I try not to do it because I don't believe in the practice. But there are certain games that I have pre-ordered. Doom Eternal, for example. I believe in what that studio was doing. I really enjoyed the 2016 version of Doom. Mm-hmm. And Best Buy enticed me with, a good price on it. But generally speaking, pre-ordering games is not something I do on the regular because I believe it encourages developers to be lazy, to reward players with, bad bonuses, like who the fuck needs a pair of, blue pants instead of red pants in your game? Like nobody gives a fucking shit about that.
I hate that shit so much.
Like I think Doom Eternal comes with like a Revenant skin for multiplayer. Like I don't give a shit. Like, yeah, I'm never gonna see it anyway. Everybody else will see it. I won't see it because it's first person. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of going down a rabbit hole and I don't remember where I was.
Well, you were talking about pre-orders and
yeah. So I mean, like pre-orders, I think are generally speaking bad for the industry because you're self-inflating the numbers for a game that hasn't come out yet. Like Anthem. I pre-ordered Anthem. Big fucking mistake. I shouldn't have done that. I should have waited and like seen what other people thought about the game before I bought it. But I was so hyped up for it because it was a developer that I believed in, using a formula that I had hopes for and trusted in. And they fucked it up. They screwed it up so bad. And in the process, they ran their team dry. So I wholly support what Jason Schreier is doing. He is digging up the dirt in a world where that kind of stuff is really kind of buried, and he's bringing to light a lot of these troubles that these developers are having. I give him a lot of credit for that. I think developers, I don't know if unionizing is something they can do or if it already exists. I really don't know anything about that side of the business. Maybe that's something that they should do. These guys should not be putting in more than, 40 hours plus maybe a little OT, mm-hmm. There's really no reason for a developer to be working code for 80 hours a week. Like that's how mistakes are made. It's not how games get finished. It's how games get broken.
Yep. I mean, why would you want somebody developing a game, talented or not, under extreme pressure? Mm-hmm. With a time limit, and maybe that's why we do see flaws in games, or we see patches that are day one or whatever it is. I think that we all can agree that that's probably what's happening. It's mm-hmm. because the game is just not completed yet. It's not polished, and that's why we usually rave when we see a game that is so well polished.
Right. We
end up saying that as one of our first comments for a review. We're like, oh man, like this game just seems so polished. Like they must have really taken their time on it. Yeah. And sometimes we maybe take those comments for granted, and then we realize, well, wait a second, like maybe potentially almost every game or most games could be as polished as this one if people just had more time.
Yeah. I'm speaking of that polish. I'm kind of looking forward to seeing how Doom Eternal ends up being, because it was delayed. From what I understand, they took the game and they're like, hey, this really isn't what we want it to be. It's not finished. Let's fix it. And they pulled it before release and like, nope, we're going to redo this. And, allegedly made it better. So I'm kind of curious to see if that extra time in the development cycle really was what that game needed, or if it was broken and just can't be fixed.
Yeah, and I think, overall, just with talks with people at work and just friends in general, it seems like most people are really comfortable with games being delayed. It's like a bummer for like 5 minutes, but then generally, like most people kind of bounce out of that sadness, and they're like, you know what, have them take their time, because I just want this game to be good, and I want it to be polished. So
Cyberpunk's a great example of that. I'll wait another year for that game. I don't care. Fix it.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too, is like people are also okay waiting, because it's not just about polish, it's about, backlog.
Well, that too.
Fucking God bless. Like that's why everybody's like, like Joe mentioned here, I think he said Jason Schreier and the latest lull in games being kind of wonderful. I mean, that's a huge statement because it's so real right now with everything else going on and the backlogs that we're trying to bulldoze through. It's such a relief.
Yeah. I know a lot of people were very vocal about January and February being quiet as far as releases go. And I really kind of wish I took better advantage of that time because March and April, like, fuck you.
The second question, I know you both have huge backlogs of games, but do you ever hit a point where the size of your backlog gets in the way of a good deal? Do you ever just say Doom/Division 2 is $3, but I am going to puke if I buy one more video game? Personally, I feel like even if I never play a game, I'm still supporting a developer I like, but sometimes I feel like I really overdo it. Oh, yeah, man.
It kind of goes back to the supporting with your wallet kind of thing a little bit, you know? But again, it's like the developers are building the game for you to play it too, not just buy it. So are you really supporting them? I mean, financially, sure. But if you're, you know, not talking about a game and spreading the word about a game that, you know, because you never played it, I don't know if it necessarily really helps. The short answer is yes. The backlog definitely does at least make me pause before I buy a game, even if it's like only a couple bucks. I stopped loading up Steam during Steam sales because of that. I ended up buying an immense amount of games that I have never even installed. And even like with the Epic Store, which gives a free game every week, I'm hesitant to even get the free game because I just know I'm not going to play it. You know, it's kind of just ridiculous. Like there was a game that came out a couple months ago, and I already had it on another system, and it was free on Epic, and I'm like, yeah, but I'm probably never gonna play this on the computer, and I don't think I got it. I don't remember which game it was. It might have been Celeste. You know, I've already bought it twice. So, like, why do I need to have it free for a third time? I'm not going to play it on that platform.
I know. Yeah, it's oh, man, what a tricky thing. I mean, even games like The Swapper, I know is super cheap right now on PSN, and I already have played the whole game. It looks gorgeous on my PC, and it's tempting to pick it up on the PS4 because I'd love to play it on there, but it's times like that where I just really have to be strict and I have to think, you know, do I support the game more with my wallet, like you say, or do I just say, okay, I already paid the money, I've got the game, don't, you know, fill up the backlog more with just duplicates. So there's that part of the question. And the second part, you know, in terms of seeing like a game that I've wanted and it's super cheap, again, it kind of falls back to what you were saying and what we've mentioned on previous episodes as of recent. You know, I think that the both of us are trying to be more careful with those deals because even though it's super tempting, it's just another a $3 game can still be a 60-hour game, right? And I don't want to add that to the pile. So it really depends. I'm very choosy and selective now when I see a sale like that.
It depends entirely on the game. The first thing I ask myself is, okay, if I buy this game, am I going to get X number of dollars worth of fun out of it? So the Division 2, I think at $3, if you play that game once for 2 or 3 hours, you will get $3 of fun. I think that at that price, that game is absolutely worth it. And then there's a chance that sucks you in and you become, you know, enthralled with it and you play it more than that. You know, but there are a lot of really cheap games that are out there, especially like on the Nintendo eShop. You know, you can buy a game for 19 cents and it's like, all right, well, what is this? What is this game? What is it accomplishing? Do I need it? Probably not. A lot of those, you know, super cheap games are just ports of mobile games that are available for free, you know, or just aren't very good to begin with. So it really is a case-by-case basis. But I think a good starting point is look at the price, look at the game, and try to figure out, in your current situation with the games that you have, how much am I actually going to play this game? Am I going to buy it and fire it up right now? And if so, will I get $5, $10 worth of enjoyment out of it? If the answer is yes, go ahead and buy it. And then if you play it that one time and you never play it again, at least you've gotten your money's worth, and you can always go back to it. Like, it's not going to be something that is, lost to you forever, hopefully, as long as digital rights are, in your favor, I suppose. Mm-hmm. But if it's the kind of thing where, like, you're going to buy it and you're going to shelve it with the uncertainty of playing it, maybe that's not the best thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, again, where it gets tough for me, at least, is like, again, another good example would be Tomb Raider, the definitive edition. I loved that game. I played it on PC, had a really nice time with it. And then I know that the definitive edition came out forever ago, and they added like all these extra effects, like certain hair tessellation and all these like little details. And, right now I think it's like $5 or something. So it's tempting to scoop, little games like that up, because I loved it so much and I could see myself playing it again. But the question is when, and that's where I hesitate, because if I scoop that up today, I might load it up just to see how it looks in comparison. But then I would probably be like, all right, that's enough for now, turn it off. And then God fucking knows when I'm going back to it again. And that's where I think it can get dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, I have a habit of buying games that are cheap, playing them the day I buy them or get them, and then shelving them and saying, oh yeah, I'll get to this when I finish X, Y, and Z. And that's kind of where, most of my backlog has built up from, because I don't hyper-focus on one game at a time. I'm still guilty of doing that. Like, I mean, anybody that's listened to the show for more than 5 episodes will get that. So...
yeah, but great question, super relevant, again, it kind of circles back to so many different, it's kind of like a Venn diagram, these kind of questions, they all circle back to the same kind of issue, which is like backlog and when to purchase, and it's all kind of part of the same ecosystem. So
yeah, absolutely.
Do you want to save that last one for next week, Drew, or do you want to?
Yeah, we had a late arrival. That's up to you. I think it's a quick answer, but it's up to you.
Okay, yeah, we'll cover it. Dave, first of all, shame on you for being late. We did close the mailbag. So again, shame on you. But we will address this because you're a personal friend. And that's it. Anyway, what's up, Dave? Horizon Zero Dawn is coming to PC. Do you feel this is good, or a slap in the face to anyone who purchased a PS4 thinking that was their only way of playing this game? I'll let you kick this one off, Drew, because you know a little bit more about it, and then I'll touch up on it.
I don't believe that it is a slap in the face, because the game came out like 5 years ago. and that's really it. Like, that's kind of my answer. This game has been around for a very long time. I think if you bought a PlayStation for this game when the game came out, you've gotten your enjoyment of it. And if you're salty about it now being ported to the PC so many years later, really just get over yourself.
Yeah, very good answer. I think, I love to see PS4 exclusives, any exclusives for that matter. We already know, or everyone knows how we feel about that. But, regardless of that, the fact that it's coming to PC, I think it's something that we're seeing happen a lot more often with a lot of games. And I think it's pretty cool. I think it allows PC players to really take games that they loved on console, or maybe they didn't, and just really max things out. Yeah. And with the amount of money that people pour into PCs, I think they deserve to play some of these games maxed out. It's that simple. And it gives them a chance to enjoy something that maybe if they don't have a PS4 and they always wanted to play Horizon Zero Dawn, now they can.
Right.
So does that kind of feel like, is that sort of hypocrisy in regards to the exclusive argument? Not really. You could say that it is, but I don't nitpick it like that.
Yeah. I think the game came out in February of 2017, right? So we're in March of 2020. So it's been over 3 years at this point, right? I'm fine with exclusive games. I'm fine with exclusive windows. My stance on that hasn't changed. If now, 3 years later, the developers decide that they want to port it, fine. That's cool. It's a great game. It deserves to be played by as many people as possible. It is, for me, and always will be, a Sony game. And that's kind of it. But I was perfectly content with it never coming to PC. I'm not going to buy it on PC. For somebody who doesn't have a PlayStation and wants to play this game, I am excited for you. I'm glad you have the opportunity to play it. But I think if you get paralyzed by the idea of exclusives becoming available on more than one platform years down the line, you're going to be a really grumpy gamer.
Yeah. Yep. That's absolutely it. And I think that a game like this that is so graphically intense, it absolutely deserves a PC release. And I can't wait to see what people are going to do with it in terms of maxing out settings. I'd love to see some YouTube videos, because generally that's how I get access to how some of these games essentially look on PC. And it's a lot of fun to see, because, they just look outstanding.
One of my favorite Horizon Zero Dawn YouTube series was from this guy. I don't remember his name, but he would, in the game, you can basically capture these robots, these dinosaurs, and make them fight for you. So he would go around and he would find, different types of robot dinosaurs and capture them, and then have them fight another bad robot dinosaur, and do like pro wrestling commentary over the top. It was fucking brilliant. And he would do like Thunderjaw versus I'm trying to remember these names of these things. But he would like Thunderjaw versus Seeker, or Glint Hawk versus Thunderjaw. The only one I can think of right now is Thunderjaw, apparently. But it was brilliant. Really, really just absolutely hilarious. If I can find that channel again, I'll drop a link in the show, in the Discord for everybody.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. That's it.
See what else we got here. So that's mailbag. Going back to, you picked something up pretty special recently. Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh man, I can't believe I did this.
I know, there's already guilt in your voice.
It's not guilt, it's excitement.
Okay.
I just want to say, for the record, before I dive into this, I have absolutely no guilt. I saw this and I knew immediately that I had to buy it. Okay,
fair enough.
I've been following the Command & Conquer Remaster project since it was announced pretty closely. The lead on the remaster project is very active in Reddit and posts updates on the regular, including screenshots, videos. He went into depth about how they located the original FMV footage for the game and tried to remaster it for the remaster version of the game, and how it didn't quite work out the way they wanted it to, but they're happy with what they were able to get out of it. I think you could tell, like, in his voice when he was saying it, it's like, we really, really wish this was going to be better, but the tape just didn't convert the way we wanted it to. And anyway, in any case, so they announced that the game is going to go on sale, or it's going to be released in June, right? And a digital copy of the game is $20 on Steam, which is an absolute steal. It's coming with Command & Conquer and Command & Conquer Red Alert for the PC. This is a PC-only thing, by the way. Just want to make that clear. And then they're like, oh, by the way, we have 2 physical editions. And, oh my God.
Yep. It just keeps getting better and better.
Yeah, I completely geeked out. I feel like I need to... Oh, this is a long post. Let's see here. So I'm just going to kind of cherry pick part of his post on Reddit, where he says, for this next part of the story, I must confess a passion of mine. I love big box PC games. Like many of you, I've kept all my PC big boxes from childhood and proudly display them around various rooms in my workspace, with CNC boxes getting premium shelf space, of course. Nowadays in 2020, it's nearly impossible to find boxed versions of new PC games, let alone big box versions that would match the 90s style. The 25th anniversary of CNC deserved a big box edition, and thus I was determined to find a way to create a big box physical version of the Remastered Collection. So over a year ago, I reached out to the team at Limited Run Games, who specialize in creating physical box versions of titles, including several awesome big box offerings. I'm going to kind of skip around a little bit here. They are announcing 2 physical collector's editions for the games, a special edition and the 25th anniversary edition. And here's some of the cool stuff it comes with. It comes with a Tiberium crystal USB stick. Tiberium is a resource and source of basically why everybody is fighting in the game, but it's also kind of like the enemy in a way too. Think of it as ore, like you're mining ore from outer space.
Okay.
A Tiberium Crystal USB stick contains the entire remastered soundtrack, clocking it at 119 tracks and over 7 hours of music, including the entire Tiberian Sons album that was revealed yesterday. I'm going to backtrack for a second here. Tiberian Sons, SONS, is a group of people who cover like Command and Conquer music. And they were joined on stage by the original composer of Command & Conquer, Frank Klepacki, to do a concert. The concert was filmed and put up on YouTube and is so fucking badass. I can't even describe to you the joy it brings me. And then they went into the studio and they recorded all those tracks with those instruments and everything. Like, the way, man, I'm getting excited just talking about it. The way, like, some of those songs sounded back in, 1990, whatever. And the way that they sounded when they were replayed, as a full band, like it's like listening to your favorite album and then going to see it live and it's way better live. You know what I mean? Like anybody that goes to concerts understands that. You're always disappointed when you go to see a live show and the show sounds exactly like the album. But when the show sounds better than the album, oh, that's just an amazing feeling, right? And that's exactly what these guys did. And they went into the studio and they re-recorded all those tracks. Not 119 tracks, but they recorded a bunch of them as a full band. I'm super excited to hear that because now you're hearing real drums instead of synth drums from 1995. It's a huge difference, right? Let's see here. The highly there's faction pins, so they're putting pins in there as well, as long as tech tree printouts for each faction, including featuring the remastered sidebar portraits, a reversible poster, jewel cases, and faction stickers, and of course a 2-piece big box display alongside your classic CNC boxes. That's for the special edition, and that is $60, and that includes a $20 game in it, right? For $150, there's a 25th anniversary edition, and it's, quote, the dream of every CNC fan. All of the same items in the special edition are included, plus a metal mammoth tank replica and painted PVC Tesla coil and obelisk of light replicas with light and sound. I was sold at that point.
For sure.
The Tesla coil and the obelisk of light are iconic defensive structures from Command & Conquer and from Command & Conquer Red Alert. And to have them light up and make sound makes me so happy. I'm going to clear space on my desk for them. I don't care how big they are. They're probably going to be super tiny, but that's okay.
Yeah.
More fun items include a reversible faction beanie, which I expect many of you to wear while streaming, a 100-plus page art book, and faction patches. But the true highlight is a physical 6-disc remastered soundtrack individually signed by Frank Klepacki himself. It comes in a beautiful foil and embossed rigid box and is destined to become a centerpiece of any CNC collector.
This is just a tremendous package, man.
They went all out, dude. I'm gonna drop a link to the limited run page so you can see this here. It kind of gives you a list, and then on our Instagram, I actually shared an image which had the kind of like everything lined up, and I've shared that with you just now too. That should be posting in a moment. You're getting a lot of stuff, and I've never spent $150. Really, it's ended up being $175 because there's $14 to ship it, and then there's sales tax in Connecticut. So that is by far the most money I've ever spent on a single video game purchase, without a doubt. And I have no regrets.
I'm glad you don't, because this really did have your name written all over it. Like when you posted it, I was like, oh my God, like this is like a wet dream for Drew.
I cannot tell you how much time I put into Command and Conquer as a child. Like, my first computer was like a Windows 95 machine, and this was one of the first games I played on it. And to this day, I still have those physical copies. I think they're at my parents' house, but I still have them. I've bought the Command and Conquer games on, modern platforms so that I have access to them. It's not something that I've gone back to in a while because the original CNC games are definitely dated. This is a pioneering game in a genre that was very fledgling at the time. And, they've improved the controls as things have gone on. But those first few games, like if you play them now, you kind of expect them to work the way, modern RTS games work, and they don't. The mouse, you're clicking with the left mouse button to issue orders rather than the right mouse button. Using the right mouse button has become second nature at this point. So, but on the remaster, they've gone in and given players the option to change that. They've introduced modern controls, but they're not forcing you to use the modern controls. Like I was looking at some of the screenshots for, what you can and cannot change. And like anything that you might even complain about, like there's an option for that. So you don't have to play it. Like you can play it the original way, or you can choose to play it in a more modern way. And I appreciate that they're taking the time to give players the option, because you're going to have both. You're going to have the purists, and you're going to have those that, like me, that really kind of want to have a little bit more of a modern take on it. I think I broke you.
You might have. I mean, it was so much information. I was just expecting even more. No, I could tell that you're obviously really excited for this. And I don't have a ton of comment on because I just am not familiar with the game series really at all. I mean, I'm pretty sure I watched a couple buddies play it like way back in the day, like, mid to late 90s. And that's all I really have. I mean, all I know, man, is like I said, when I saw this thing, I knew it was for you. I'm glad you got it. Yeah. And I'm excited to kind of see it. Like once you get it, I'm excited to see some photos.
Photos? I might stream the fucking thing. I just linked a trailer in the chat for you.
Perfect.
Take a look at that. I think at the very least, even though you're not a fan of this series, I believe that you will respect what they've put into it when you see that trailer.
Oh, I'm sure.
And one of the things that I really value with this whole process is because this is an Electronic Arts remaster. They bought out Westwood Studios, who were the original developers of the game, and ultimately closed them down. They're giving the guy who's putting this together, Jim Vasella, an immense amount of leeway to getting this done the way it needs to get done. And it's one of the few times that I could say, hey, Electronic Arts isn't fucking this up. This is, I mean, I haven't played it, so, there's always that. But as of right now, this is a tremendous package at a tremendous value, collector's edition notwithstanding. Once you factor in all the collector stuff, like, all right, I mean, do I really need the Tesla coil? No, it's just more stuff. But fuck it.
Fuck it. Yeah, no, I love it, man. It's good to hear, this kind of excitement for something like this, because most pre-orders and most packages like this are just kind of underwhelming these days. So it's just really refreshing. Yeah. I'm excited. Anyway. Well, outside of that, I mean, E3 got canceled. I think we kind of saw that coming. Not only is this the second year that I guess Sony was not going to show up, but maybe that was the start of things to kind of happen. And, outside of the coronavirus, I think that E3 may be done differently going forward. Who knows? Those are my thoughts. I am not super upset about it because E3 is not what it used to be, in my opinion. A lot of times now you can just kind of tune into some stuff later on the day or later on the next day. And even though E3 usually needs to happen in order to watch that stuff, I just think that the show itself has been underwhelming for the most part the past couple of years. And there's a lot of cringe moments that people are talking about. And it's, I don't know, it kind of got wrapped up into everything getting shut down for the C virus. So like, it wasn't that much of a surprise for me.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that necessarily Sony bowing out of it again really had much to do with it. I think it is 100% coronavirus.
Mm-hmm.
But I do agree that, E3 may not be as necessary as it once was. You have these developers that have direct access directly to the fans. Nintendo has a Nintendo Directs that they do. Xbox does, their festivals. What is it like? What the fuck is the name of it?
Xbox?
No, it's something else.
No. I was just confirming that you said Xbox.
Oh, yeah. They, festival. Let me see if I can find, it's not called Xbox Festival. I don't know what to fucking call it, but it is a gaming convention that Microsoft organizes for their platform. Excuse me.
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
There's so many different ways. PAX, you have PAX now, which occurs 4 times a year, 5 times. I'm not sure. They have different PAXs for different parts of the country.
Yes. So,
if somebody wanted to, they could go to every single one and, go to 4 or 5 in a year.
Mm-hmm.
So E3 was once the only means of getting your information out to the news outlets and to the fans, and it no longer is. I still get excited about E3 though, because it tends to be when the big announcements are out. There's a lot of buzz, there's a lot of excitement about it, and it's kind of fun for gamers to kind of get caught up in it, I think. Yeah. I've always enjoyed it. Now I feel like that's just kind of get dripped out to us little by little rather than all in one shot.
Yeah. And that's just it, man. I think you said it best. E3 has always been an exciting time for gamers because of, announcements right. And footage and trailers. And that's really all we care about. I think there's very few what I call just average normal gamers that are tuning in live and wanting to watch every single detail. I've done that before. It can be fun if you have nothing going on that day and you just want to kind of veg out to everything. But generally speaking, what we really care about is announcements, dates, trailers, and gameplay footage. And, I think this year may be a little bit sour to some with it being canceled because people were probably hoping they would see maybe some news on consoles in terms of release dates and hardware and what it actually looks like and things like that. But, first of all, if Sony was not planning on showing up, then I doubt we were going to see anything. So... yeah, I don't know, man. I think that the world is just so goddamn different now with everything being streamed and everything so digital. It's hard to wrap our heads around a physical event that you and I probably will never go to because it's so hard to get in from what I understand, unless you're like in the gaming business and you're like a journalist or whatever. Granted, I just don't know if I'd want to go because it's so far away. Yeah. And it's just masses of people, which I generally don't vibe with. So
I would not be opposed if they go back to the press only rules. I think opening the doors to the public kind of ruined the luster of it. Sometimes you just need to have a trade show for those in the trade.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, viewing it from like a sort of outside lens has never been a problem with, for me at all. I've been watching E3 as long as I've been a gamer. And yeah, it's how I've always viewed it, was just being streamed,
Yeah. Yep.
And that's fine with me.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are kind of my thoughts. I don't really feel, any other way about it. I definitely told a couple buddies about it at work, once I saw it on Twitter or whatever. But, that was kind of it. It generally is just kind of a shorter kind of discussion like, oh, this sucks. Like, fuck, what's going to happen with this, blah, blah, blah. And then it just kind of blows away.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. We'll see if it has a bigger impact on the industry, but I don't know. I think this is just kind of in isolation this year, and we'll see how it goes next year.
Yeah, no, I agree. And then lastly, you received something recently from from yours truly. I ended up giving you something that I wasn't really using anymore. Why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah, man. You've been unloading a lot of your stuff lately, and I kind of yelled at you.
Yeah.
I yelled at you for not offering me some of the stuff that you got rid of. So when I guess one of these items didn't sell, you finally gave me dibs on it, and that is a Game Boy Pocket.
Yes.
With a copy of Link's Awakening DX and Ninja Turtles Back from the Sewers. And I haven't had a chance to. I got it. I don't know, around 1 o'clock or so yesterday. So I didn't really have a lot of time to play with it yet. I put batteries in it. I put a game in and made sure it worked. And I looked at the screen. And I'm like, ugh.
Yeah. It's hard to digest.
Yeah, this is the first time I've ever had my own Game Boy original. Like, I never had the Game Boy, the big one back in the day. I never had a Game Boy Color. I started with Game Boy Advance SP, which is a backlit screen. And I do have Game Boy games because they were compatible with that. So it's not like I've never played a Game Boy game, or I used to play my friends' Game Boys when I was younger, but it's been a very, very long time since I've held one. So, the screen is, black and white.
Yep.
And that's it. I'm gonna turn it on right now.
Yeah, it's like a Etch-a-Sketch.
Yeah.
Literally, just come to life.
Here. Do I have the volume down? I'm a fucking idiot.
It was down, wasn't it?
God damn it.
Stand by. Redo this. I want to hear it. Nice.
There we go.
Love it, man.
Yeah,
that intro. Oh, love it.
I turned it off. Sorry to do that.
Such a tease.
Yeah. But I'm looking forward to messing around with it, but it's kind of more for the collector's aspect of having one. The reality is, if I'm going to play one of these games, I'm probably going to play it on my Game Boy player on the TV, or I'm going to use something with a backlit screen. I am going to look into backlight mods to see, what that entails, and if that's something that's, reasonable and feasible, or if I'm just making more work for myself at an expense I really don't have.
Yeah, it's I've got quite a little interesting history behind that little guy, who's really hard to find nowadays too. The Game Boy Pocket is a tough one. Granted, the original Game Boy, like the gray big guy, is also hard to find. Because it's just so goddamn old at this point. But the Game Boy Pocket came out in, I believe, several colors. You have the black one.
Yes.
And I bought it from Babbage's, brand new. I remember my mom was with me, I think, at the time. And I got Pokemon Red, I think was the first game that I had for it. And I don't think I ever had anything else besides Red, Link's Awakening, and then that Turtles game I don't think I ever played. I think I just picked it up off of a friend like years ago. Back again in the 90s. And I'm pretty sure that Game Boy has only played 2 games only by me, the sole owner of that Game Boy. And I've taken great care of it, and I held on to it. And that's kind of it, man. So it's really, it's a pleasure for me to give it to somebody who I know is going to take great care of it, and is going to really cherish it and enjoy it. It's a great little device, and those games, especially Zelda Link's Awakening, is fantastic. And even though you have the color version of it, it doesn't matter. That's all that was available. I remember at the time when I went to go and get it, and I was like, "Fuck, I don't have a color." And the color, I believe on release, was a purple Game Boy, and I didn't want that. So
yeah. I remember they came out with a couple funky colors for the systems themselves.
Yeah.
Ultimately, they end up releasing like every color of the rainbow. So, if you're patient enough, you can get whatever you want. But I'm sure at some point or another I'll throw it in and play it on a device that will take advantage of the color that's available to it. The SP or the Nintendo DS, or I have a Game Boy player for the GameCube, which I know is not the best way to play those games, but it certainly works. But I've never played Link's Awakening. I know the remaster just came out, and a lot of people were really happy with that. So, maybe this will charm me and, give me a reason to check that version out as well.
Potentially. I mean, it's a fantastic little game, and it's just amazing to think that you now have a part of my gaming history in your hands.
Yeah.
I remember being on the school bus, dude, with that thing.
Oh, yeah?
Linking up with other people with that little cord to fight other people's Pokemons in
crazy.
Pokemon Red and Blue. So you are now holding something that has traversed parts of Milford, Connecticut on school buses.
Well, maybe once again it will traverse Milford, Connecticut. Probably not on a school bus, but
no, probably not. Field trip.
Yeah, right. But yeah, man, I'm excited to have it, man.
Yeah,
so,
no, it's great. Like I said, I just really wasn't doing anything with it, and it doesn't serve any purpose in my life. And you're a very big collector, so I think it belongs in your GameStop.
Yeah. Now it's one more addition to the miniature GameStop.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, you got to let me come over and help you organize that room, because I think once we get it super organized, it's going to look like one of those collector's rooms, and then you can make like an Instagram and just do like Drew's GameStop.
Well, the when I had everything set up the first time, that's exactly what it looked like, and then I got more stuff.
Yeah.
And then I kept getting more stuff, and now we're kind of where we're at now. So it is definitely not where I want it to be, but I have some time off from work coming up soon.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to take full advantage of that to reorganize this room. I have a closet that I would like to build some shelving in, which I really need to start planning on what I'm going to do with that. And yeah, I'm going to be as busy as possible that week trying to get everything kind of fixed up in here.
Yeah, I would. I'm sure you have a vision, and when you execute on that vision, whether I'm there or not, I would suggest just putting on like a long playlist worth of like Final Fantasy music or something.
It's not a bad idea.
And just leave that on the background, make some coffee, and just kind of spend the day in there alone, no interruptions, and turn your phone off, toss it outside of the room, and just get going, And I think it's going to be really rewarding when you're done.
I like it.
That's what I would do, at least. That's my method. Like, whenever I want to get something done, it's always like video game music on in the background, little caffeine, no one around, and things get done. Yeah,
that's a really good idea. I like it, because I like having music on that, and video game music specifically takes advantage of this, but stuff that is, it helps you focus. It doesn't distract,
Yeah, it really does. I mean, I used some music last night when I was doing my article, and it really helped me channel into what it was writing about.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, very good.
Cool. Anything else to share, Drew?
No. Buy the Command & Conquer Remaster when it comes out for $20 on Steam.
Okay. WDGRPodcast.com. Please check us out. And don't hesitate to join our Discord. Like we've said many times, this is really a home base for us, and we're in here every day. We have great banter, so please join us in that banter, and I think you'll have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think that's going to wrap up our show. It's a Saturday. The sun's out. I might have to get batteries, so wish me the best of luck.
I'm going to send you a link for what I perceive to be the best battery.
Okay.
Unfortunately, you'll have to order them online probably, but I think it's worth the wait.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Well, with that said, folks, take care, and we will see you next week.
Later.
See ya.